This video found you when you were ready to change. Not because you saw a flashy thumbnail promising a shortcut, but because something in your bank account this month didn't add up the way you expected, and you noticed. That noticing is rare. Most people scroll past the feeling and keep going. You didn't, and that single choice to stay curious is the same muscle this entire video is about. There's a habit that separates people who slowly build stability from people who stay stuck, and it has almost nothing to do with income. It's not about a side hustle. It's not about finding a secret investment. It's a small, quiet inspection point that happens dozens of times a week, usually taking less than 3 seconds, and most people never learn to use it. Here it is. Before money leaves your hand, you pause and ask one honest question. Not, can I afford this? Almost everyone can afford almost everything in the moment. That's what cards and installment plans are built for. The question is different. Is this what I actually want my money to become? A coffee, a subscription renewal, a same-day shipping fee. Each one is a tiny fork in the road, and none of them feel important alone. That's exactly why they're dangerous, and exactly why they're powerful once you notice them. A single decision never bankrupts anyone, and a single decision never builds wealth either. It's the pattern underneath, repeated without attention, that quietly decides where you end up in 5 years. You've probably felt the result of this pattern already, that vague sense of where did it all go, without ever seeing the mechanism. In the next few minutes, you're going to see that mechanism clearly, and more importantly, you're going to get specific, usable ways to interrupt it. The first one starts with a question most people are afraid to ask about their own paycheck. Here's the first shift, and it's uncomfortable at first. Stop asking whether you can afford something. Start asking what it actually costs you in hours of your life. A $14 lunch delivery fee sounds small until you convert it. If you earn $22 an hour after taxes, that fee alone is close to 40 minutes of your workday, just for the convenience of not walking to get food yourself. This isn't about guilt. Convenience is sometimes worth exactly what it costs. The point is that most people never do the conversion, so they never get to make that choice consciously. They see a price tag in dollars, a number that feels abstract, instead of a number in hours, which feels real because hours are the actual currency of your life. Money is just the receipt. Try this. For 1 week, before any purchase over $20, do the math in your head. Take the price, divide by your after-tax hourly rate. A $90 pair of shoes at a $25 hourly rate is 3.6 hours. Ask yourself if you'd trade that block of a workday specifically for those specific shoes. Sometimes the answer is yes without hesitation. That's useful information too. It tells you where your real values are. What this exposes for many people is a strange mismatch. They'll agonize over a $2 price difference on groceries, then approve a $60 impulse buy without a second thought, because one felt like spending and the other felt like not spending, just clicking. The hour conversion removes that illusion. Every purchase becomes the same unit, comparable, honest. This single habit won't fix your finances by itself, but it changes what you notice, and noticing is the doorway to everything else in this video. Once you can see the true cost of a decision, the next question becomes whether you're making that decision on purpose or on autopilot, and that difference is bigger than most people realize. Most spending isn't a decision. It's a reflex. You see something, a feeling rises, your thumb moves, and the purchase is done before your slower, more deliberate brain even gets a vote. Researchers who study behavior generally describe this as 2 different systems working at different speeds, and the fast one is winning most of the time when money is involved, especially online where the gap between wanting and buying has been engineered down to a single tap. The fix isn't more willpower. Willpower is a limited resource that runs out by the end of a long day, which is exactly why so much impulse spending happens at night. The fix is inserting space back into a process that's been designed to remove it. A simple version. For any non-essential purchase over a set amount, say $50, you don't buy it the moment you want it. You put in a note, a cart, a list, and you leave it there for 24 hours. Nothing else changes. You're not forbidding the purchase. You're just separating the want from the action by one day. What tends to happen for many people who try this consistently is that a meaningful share of those wants quietly lose their pull within that window. The urgency was never really about the object. It was about the feeling in the moment, and feelings pass. The purchases that survive the 24 hours are usually the ones worth making. You come back to them clear-headed, and either you still want it and buy it without guilt, or you've already moved on and saved the money without any struggle at all. No restriction, no shame, just a delay doing the work that discipline usually gets credit for. This works for spending. But there's a second, quieter version of this same principle that applies somewhere most people never think to look, and it involves the choices you're not even aware you're making anymore. A price tag tells you one number. It never tells you the number that actually matters, which is cost per use. A $40 jacket you wear once a week for 3 years costs you roughly 26 cents per wear. A $12 shirt that sits in the closet after 2 wears because it never quite fit right costs $6 per wear. The cheaper item, by sticker price, was the more expensive decision. This reframing changes how you look at almost every category of spending, not just clothes. A streaming subscription you actually watch every week is a good use of $9 a month. The same subscription, forgotten and in use for 4 months, has quietly cost you $36 for nothing, and you likely won't notice unless you go looking. That's the trap. Unused things don't announce themselves. They just sit there, silently draining, while the things you use loudly justify themselves every single time. Try applying this to one category this week. Pick something you buy often, coffee, gym visits, a meal kit box, and estimate the real cost per use over the last month. Divide total spent by actual uses, not intended uses. Most people are startled by at least one number in this exercise. The gym membership used twice a month at $50 is $25 per visit, roughly the price of a personal training session, for a habit that isn't happening. This isn't a call to cut everything down to the bone. Some low-frequency, high-cost-per-use things are still worth keeping, for comfort or joy that a spreadsheet can't capture. The goal is simply to know the real number, instead of the number printed on the receipt, because you can only make a good decision about something you can actually see clearly. Once you start seeing true cost this way, a bigger question shows up. If some of your money decisions are this clear once you look at them, why do so many of them still happen without you looking at all? Some decisions get worse the more willpower they require, and some get better the less you think about them at all. This is the distinction almost nobody teaches. Certain money habits should be automatic, and certain ones should stay deliberate and mixing up, which is where a lot of people quietly lose ground every single month. Saving is a decision that should almost never depend on your mood on a given day. If you wait until the end of the month to see what's left over to save, the honest answer is usually nothing, because spending expands to fill whatever is available. The fix many people find effective is a standing transfer set up on payday itself, moving a fixed amount to a separate account before it ever sits in your regular balance long enough to feel spendable. You're not relying on discipline in the moment. You're removing the moment entirely. Discretionary spending works in the opposite direction. That's where you want friction, not automation, which is why the 24-hour pause from earlier matters so much for those specific categories. The mistake many people make is automating the wrong half. They auto-pay every subscription without review, letting convenience quietly compound, while leaving savings as an afterthought that depends on willpower every time. A useful exercise: list your recurring automatic payments and ask which ones you'd actually resubscribe to if you had to manually reapprove them today. Then look at your savings and ask whether it happens automatically or only when you remember. If the answer runs backward from what serves you, that's worth fixing this week, not eventually. Automating the boring choices frees up your attention for the choices that actually deserve it. But automation alone doesn't tell you if you're moving in the right direction overall. And that requires watching a number most people never track at all. Most people track their income. Far fewer track their margin. And margin is the number that actually determines whether you're gaining ground or losing it. Margin is simply what's left after your fixed, unavoidable costs, rent, insurance, minimum debt payments, groceries, before any discretionary spending happens at all. It's the size of your real decision-making room each month. Here's why this distinction matters so much. A raise feels like progress, and often it is. But if your fixed costs quietly rise alongside it, a bigger apartment, a nicer car payment, upgraded everything, your margin can stay exactly the same size or even shrink while your income line goes up and to the right. This is sometimes called lifestyle creep, and it's dangerous specifically because it feels like winning while the actual number that matters stays flat or worsens. The fix is simple to describe, harder to practice consistently. Check your margin, not your income, when you get a raise or a windfall. If your take-home pay increases by $300 a month, decide in advance what portion goes to margin, savings, investing, debt payoff before your fixed costs have any chance to quietly absorb it through a lease renewal or a habit upgrade. Even putting half of any increase toward margin before you adjust your lifestyle preserves real progress. Try calculating your margin this month. Total income minus every fixed and unavoidable cost. Whatever's left is the real number to watch over time, month over month, not your salary. Growing margin means you're actually gaining room. Flat or shrinking margin, even with a rising salary, means you're running in place. Knowing your margin tells you where you stand. But knowing isn't the same as protecting it. And protecting it requires something most personal finance advice skips entirely. Most advice about spending assumes you'll resist temptation through sheer determination, meeting it head-on every time it appears. That's exhausting, and it fails predictably, especially on hard days when your resistance is already spent on everything else life is asking of you. There's a better approach, and it's about designing your environment so the easy path and the good path are the same path. Concretely, remove Save Payment Card from shopping apps you tend to browse impulsively. That extra 60 seconds of typing in card numbers manually is often enough friction to let the 24-hour rule kick in naturally, without you having to consciously invoke it. Meanwhile, do the opposite for saving. Make your savings transfer require zero ongoing action once it's set up. So the easy path, there is also the automatic one. Unsubscribe from retailer emails that exist purely to manufacture urgency you didn't have 5 minutes ago. Delete apps you only open when bored, and access them through a browser instead if you truly need them. Since the extra steps quietly reduce impulsive use without banning anything outright. None of this requires more discipline. It requires fewer invitations to use the discipline you already have on a given day. This same principle works for the good habits too, not just blocking bad ones. Keep a standing list of things you're actually saving toward, visible somewhere you'll see it, a specific trip, a repair fund, an emergency cushion. Vague future goals rarely beat a concrete, visible one when you're standing in a checkout line, deciding whether $40 goes to a t-shirt or the thing you actually want. Friction and ease, placed deliberately, do more work over a year than any amount of white-knuckle willpower does in a single afternoon. But even with all of this in place, there's one more thing that determines whether any of it lasts. None of the habits in this video matter much on any single day. A 24-hour pause once, a margin check for 1 month, an automated transfer that runs a single time. These are close to invisible on their own. That's the part that trips people up because they try one of these for 2 weeks, see no dramatic change, and quietly conclude it doesn't work. That's not what any of this is designed to do. What actually happens is slower and, over time, more powerful. Every small pause you take before spending is a vote for a version of yourself that spends on purpose. Every automated transfer is a vote for a version of yourself that saves without needing to remember to. You're not just moving money around when you do these things. You're building an identity, one small repeated decision at a time, and identity is what determines your default years from now, long after you've forgotten you were ever practicing anything at all. This is, in my reading of the research on habit formation, generally how lasting behavior change tends to work. Not through one big dramatic overhaul, but through small, repeated actions that eventually stop requiring thought at all. The person who checks the true cost of a purchase isn't doing something impressive in the moment. They've simply become someone who does that. The same way you don't decide to brush your teeth each night. You just are someone who does. So pick one habit from this video. Not all 7. 1. The 24-hour pause, or the automated transfer, or the margin check. Practice it for the next 30 days, imperfectly, and let it become boring rather than exciting. Boring is what it looks like right before it becomes permanent. You notice something was off enough to watch this whole video. That noticing was the hard part. What you do with it next is the quiet part nobody else will ever see you do.